Welcome to another weekend here on the platform. My name is Sam Omatseye. Here is my column.
It is the way of the race. Just as Apostle Paul says, all run, but only one receives the prize. So it was for Atiku Abubakar. The Adamawa chieftain beat the field in spite of the husky uproar of Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike. Before the primary, three big names bowed out. Sokoto State's Aminu Tambuwa conceded charmingly to Atiku. Obi and Hayatuddin walked away, the former from the party, the latter from the race. Both cited an unfair contest. The open primary was tossed aside, and Speaker Gbajabiamila was a big voice for open and direct primaries. He evangelized its virtue as the gateway out of a democracy of vipers. But it was handed over to the plutocrats. We have made the political bed, and we must lie and snore on it. Maybe in another cycle, we will do well. One thing is clear, PDP has overthrown zoning. By picking Atiku, the Southern Governors' Pact to uphold Southern ticket has turned out a factious jamboree. The APC can only battle Atiku with a person who has the contacts and appeal of a nationalist. The option is to have a Tinubu as the candidate. It promises to be a gladiatorial contest. Atiku did not enter the fray yesterday. He has been at it for decades. From under Yaradua's shadow, he's a big name to fight in the national sweepstakes. He has contacts. He has people who swear by him. He has been able to show a muzzle no one can ignore. Other than Tinubu, APC has no one near Atiku's prowess. Tinubu knows him well. Atiku knows Tinubu is a tough cookie to crack. Tinubu knows business. He has done it for himself. He has done it for Lagos, the model for all states that want to plow out of economic doldrums. Both even belong to the Yaradua group of yore. They both have grown to be different men of stature. The option for APC is whether they want to win with Tinubu or lose without him. Do they want to fight a lion with a domestic cat or a bigger lion? It's a battle of pound for pound and gal for gal. It will be a thriller. A week from now will prove it.
So in the morning of that day, I was in the house I was living in Alexibu's house in
Yes,
Ikeja.
the
And I got a
mother's
call.
house.
I got a call from Mohammed, who was then PAMSEC for information. The information offices were then where EFCC is now on Wallow Road.
Yeah.
Mohammed said, "Is that?" I said, "Yes, this is he." He said, "Congratulations, you've been appointed MD of Daily Times." And I thought, is this for real? And he said, "Are you there, Dr. Gumi?" I said, "Yes, I'm here." And then, the rest, of course. So I went later to pick up the letter. It was an interesting time. That transition was, you couldn't. I woke up on Monday morning. For the first time in my adult working life, I had nowhere to go, no job. So I was sitting down there, and then my phone rings, and the phone number is 960-549. That was the number. I won't forget that number. So the phone rang, and then boom, this man says to me, "You are the new MD of Daily Times," and I was in an air-conditioned room, and yet I was sweating from that news. So that's an interesting part of my life.
Yeah. And then Daily Times, of course, the story, the rest is history too, how it was transformed, became very profitable, and so on. And then you had to leave because you also had conflict with the then Minister of Information, Akin, and so on. You were very close to IBB. Have you ever had any discussion with IBB as to why he allowed that to happen?
No, I've not. Good question, Sam. I've not. And I was the president a few weeks ago in Mina. I haven't asked him, but I think I knew why I was removed. It wasn't, IBB didn't want me to go at that point. It was under a lot of pressure, I think, from his younger officers in the intelligence community. I had expressed a view to him, I think, that he shouldn't extend his stay in office. I mentioned it to him at a casual meeting that it was not in his interest to extend his stay in office. I suspect that the intelligence community got to know what I said there
And they used that
and wanted
against
me
you.
out of office. And they couldn't say no to them. If you're president, it's a complex thing to be in. If you're president, of course, you're under a lot of pressure from different sectors of your constituency. And he had to give in to them reluctantly to let me go. He didn't want me to go. I know that because when I went to see him after I was removed, you could see that it was difficult for him to face me and to confront me. But I don't put the blame. It wasn't Akinle. Akinle was told to sack me. Akinle was not part of it. Akinle was happy to have me go.
Well, I was happy to let you go.
Because he didn't have his way with me.
Yeah.
He thought I was too. As I described it,
Too independent for him.
and as you can see from the way I described it in the
Yes,
book, it was. I mean, he's dead now, so we shouldn't
Yes.
speak no evil of him. I was generous to him in my comments here, but he said worse things to me and said I should get away and get
Yes,
with it. And
yes,
then,
yes.
you know,
Maybe
but I
it
was
kind of a gloating
yes,
moment
it was.
for
It
him,
was saying, "Come on, you've been fired now. So what are you going to do?"
Yeah.
And he did. So many things transpired between us that I could not say in the book
You said
because
so.
I left out things that he did. That would have, if he was alive, I would have written them. Things that will make him look very, very bad. But I took it out of the book. I didn't put it in the book because he made some demands of me that I could. I said,
Yeah, you told me that.
but I could not.
Yeah.
I could not put that in the book, and I couldn't comply with those demands. And he hated me for that. But looking back now, I'm glad I didn't. I mean, I can walk around with my head up there saying, look, I gave it my best shot as MD of the Daily Times.
And IBB had been good to you, especially when you had personal problems and he had to come to your house to resolve.
Oh, that's it. Sam, that was before he fired me.
Yeah, that was before he fired
No,
you.
we're very
I'm sure
good
Inka
friends.
was there too at
We're
the
very
house
good
and
friends.
so on.
We still are. I mean,
Then he looked at you and said, Yemi, you're not looking good. What is the problem? You're looking
well,
scruffy."
Sam, I don't want to discuss. That's a very.
They will start in the book.
You know, anyone who wants to see that should go and read the book.
Yes,
You know, but it was IBB was very nice to me.
Yeah.
He was very kind to me. He meant well in many ways. He was just, and as I say in the book, he was a victim of very complex setup. Leadership positions in economy can be complex. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're in that position as president, it's complex. It's complicated. It's very difficult, and he wanted to do well. And I don't know. I suppose June 12 is one thing. That if he had to do it again, maybe he would not have annulled June 12. I don't know. But again, when I went to see him, by the way, I should say this. We liked the book, and I said, but you know, sir, that I was critical of you in the book. He said, I know, Yemi, I know what you will say about this. So he laughed, and I said, can I read you
Some of his.
So I read it to him, and where I was critical of him, he said, well, I mean, that's fair. And he said to me, that's fair. And that's balanced, he said.
Yes.
You put it well, and I don't mind that. So that's the kind of person that IBB is, and it's a pity that his legacy was completely damaged by that June 12 saga.
Yes. You went as much
I
as
said so in the
that,
book. You know, he was a pleasant human being. I mean, he did many things. He created problems that were self-inflicted problems. Partly because he listened to some of his own younger officers there. But I think he gave it his best shot. He opened up the economy. Look at the banking sector. Look at the airlines. We didn't have airlines like this before. IBB did that. Even in telecoms. Even telecoms.
Television, private TV.
He did all that. He was the one that opened up the economy. He did all that. Yes, he did all that. So it's a lot. And I say so in the book. But he made mistakes. And he made mistakes. I mean, he's human. He made mistakes. And those mistakes, of course, are very painful. And they will live with him for the rest of his life. And I've asked him to write his memoirs.
Yeah.
I think he needs to do that. I have asked him, and he's promised to do so. He has to tell his own story.
And there was this incident when you went to see MKO Abiola.
In prison. Amazing experience.
Yes, it was an amazing experience where, can you take us through what happened? And there was somebody who came in while you were there.
Yeah, but I don't want to mention. You see,
you didn't mention. You didn't mention the person's name.
No. A prominent Egba chief,
yes,
who is head of a Muslim group, came to see him. But you could tell that he had been coming to see him, and the idea was to get him to forgo the mandate, to give up the mandate. And he kept on saying to them, I would not give up the mandate. So he was sent to come in the day I got there. And And the fact that MK was allowed only one guest at a time, one visitor at a time, I knew that if he came in and met me, then obviously it was a special guest that was known to the security agent guy. So they let him in, and when I was there with him, he didn't want to talk to me, talk to Akin when I was there. But MK said, Yemi is my younger brother, you better say what you want to say. And then he said, but you and I talked yesterday, I would not give up the mandate. And he was angry. His countenance changed.
Yes.
And this gentleman left feeling very bad. I was sorry that it was embarrassed. Well, I thought it was embarrassed in my presence. Much older person than me. And he knew me very well. He said, Yemi, how are you? I said, fine, sir. We exchanged pleasant.
The president still alive?
No, he's been gone for a while. But I didn't think... my focus at that point was on him, was on MKO. And his resoluteness. He was resolute. He was... You could see that...
Even though he asked you a question as to what did you think about...
Yes, but even then, you saw in him somebody who had made up his mind that he would not give up the mandate. I suspect that at the beginning of his incarceration, he wanted to give up the mandate. But by the time I saw him, he had made up his mind not to. That's what that came across strongly in the person I saw sitting before me. And I never saw him again. But it was a very moving experience. He kept on, when the gentleman left, he went back and was teasing me about my wife and about my younger, relationship with my younger family, and kept on saying, but does she have a second baby? And I said, but that's not why I came here. I came to see you. Why are you talking about me? It's not about me, it's about you. And he laughed. He said, but Yemi, we was talking about you too. And he was in good spirits. Yes. Even though he had a back pain, and his feet were swollen, but it was in very good spirit. It was the whole MKO. Once that man left, his mood switched again to his old self. And then I showed him I'll see him again to redo. We had done the book on him. Yes. So I thought we would then update the book. And he said, fine, that would be nice. I mean, that would be nice. It
never happened.
I never saw him again. That was the last time I saw him. Last time I saw him, of course, was his body was being carried for burial.
I have two more questions.
Yes, sir.
One of them is... with the Director of Military Intelligence.
Yes.
They had called you over and they wanted you to become the publicist abroad.
So sell June 12.
Of June 12.
Annulment. To say that annulment was, yes.
Annulment. And you met an officer, a Yoruba officer.
Lieutenant Colonel, he died. It was, I don't know whether he was killed or he died of illness in Abacha's detention before I was released. Yeah. His name was Akiode.
Akiode, yes.
I didn't mention his name in the book.
You didn't mention his name, but you said he gave you
Akiode said to me, he said, you know that old proverb that if you send a man on a slave's errand, he must, it's not that you don't send someone and you must come back, you must answer, you must carry out the role of a freedman, So once he warned me, it was like a hint that be careful what they're going to ask you to do. It's not something you should do. So when I entered the room, I met the general, and I said, Ambassador Adeniji was seated.
You didn't mention him in the book.
No, I didn't mention his name, but I have seen him since, and he was laughing. I said,
can you mention him?
No, I don't think I should.
But I know who he is.
I didn't mention. Well, that's for you. Since I didn't mention his name in the book, I know his mention. I saw him the other day, he was laughing. So you should have said it. I said, well, look, I didn't think I should mention his name, general. And Adeniji was very worried and upset that I sent for me, because I could tell from the way he looked at me that he had said to them, this will not work. Yemi's not going to do this. Besides, I don't think you're asking to do this kind of assignment for you. June 12 was wrong. The annulment was wrong. But it was a civil servant, and I suspect that. So he didn't say a word throughout my meeting with him. And I said, sorry, I'm not going to do it. The money I was going to be giving them was £1 million to go and do this assignment. I didn't mention it, but that's £1 million. And I said, no, I'm not going to do this. And I said to the general, tell the president, play back my voice from your recordings. Yes. He said, no, I'm not. I said, I know you're recording me. So he said, Yemi, don't be silly. I said, I know you're recording what I'm saying to you here. Play back what I'm saying to you. I will not do this assignment. And for many reasons. One, I was a part of Abella's campaign team. I wrote his acceptance speech entitled Triumph of Hope. Chidi and I drafted it. And he loved that was the speech I was going to read, accepting the victory. Then, and I was part of his media team. Then for me now to be the one, I said, I can't do that. And if I did that, I won't go back to Yoruba land. They will brand me a traitor. So he was shocked said, do you Yorubas take this? I said, of course. As an ambassador, Adenji told you how bad this is.
Yes.
And Adenji looked away. He didn't say a word. Said,
Yes.
okay.
He said he just, from the beginning, he looked away.
Yes, he says, thank me. And said, okay, Yemi, all right, thank you for coming and all that. And then he gave me an envelope of money, cash, naira. So when I came out, I said to Akin, look, share this among the boys. He looked at me and said, anyway. So, but that was a very, and somebody else did that trip. And obviously.
Yes, another media person was.
I did that for that, but I said I was going to do it. And I'm glad I didn't do it, looking back now.
The last question has to do with something that had to do with Bola Ige.
Yes.
He came to see Baba Awo.
Yes. You
were there with your wife, Shadi.
Yes.
And he had just come out of jail.
Yes.
And you had Olaniwon Ajayi and Ayobanjo.
We're just telling me. I didn't mention any
You didn't
names.
mention the name.
I didn't mention any name.
Okay, yes.
You are the one mentioning
I'm the one mentioning it. Okay, he came in.
Yes.
And he saw the two men. And it was
other people were there for dinner.
Yes, to have dinner.
You are the one mentioning it. I didn't mention it. And because my focus in that story was on Bola Ige and Papa and how they related to each other. So I wasn't interested in these other guys, but I never tell the story because of the way Bola Ige conducted himself and how Baba took it. It was an interesting meeting. Uncle Bola came in, straight from prison. He had come, he was taken from Ikoyi prisons, because I saw him in prison about a couple of times. He went from Ikoyi prison to Ibadan, and there was a church service at St. Anne's Church in the morning, and then, people jubilated and danced. And in the evening, he drove to Baba's place. And I don't know why Shada and I were there that day. We would normally not be at...
But he said I will always...
No, but it was a Monday. Yeah. I went to check this. I don't know why we were invited. Maybe Baba said we should come for that meeting. Anyway. We got there and Uncle Bola came in there. And as I said in the book, Uncle Bola was, welcome. He lost some weight, but I had seen him in prison. Yeah. So I knew he'd lost some weight. Yeah. And I went to Mama first. Mama always sat at the head of the table. Yeah. And Baba was there. And then they greeted and we had a little chat.
Then you rose.
And then, Baba then told Uncle Bola to sit down for dinner. Yeah. So I stood up from where I was to let him in. Yeah. And of course, he looked across the table and then saw other guests at the table and then flared up and then said he wasn't going to be there. He wasn't going to eat.
And he said, my leader, these two men are traitors.
Yes,
I cannot sit here and so on. Yes, I have to leave. My leader, there's no way, and there was no way I could cool him down. And then you wanted to follow him out.
Baba said no.
Baba said no, he will come back.
And I'm told that the next day he came to apologize. And so, but Baba was quite, Baba had been told that the tension between the families of the two people he saw and had become unbearable. And my mother asked me one and asked Shadi and I and said, look, is it true? I said, yes, sir. And Papa said, well, that's a pity. But it was quite a scene. Yeah. And Uncle Bola flared up. It was emotional. He was in a state of, you could see
that scene became an important controversy recently.
Oh, is that
between Baba Akonde, who said that scene happened, and
but Akonde was not there. How did he know? He wasn't there. Akonde wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
So how did he know?
Well, apparently you have...
no.
You have confirmed
No,
it.
but he couldn't say it because he was not there.
Yeah, he said he probably heard it from people who were there.
There are only 3 people alive today who were at that scene. It was myself, that was my wife Shade, and another member of the team that Uncle Bola was angry with. The rest of them are dead. Nobody's there. Maybe one of them. Why would they?
And given that he was very angry, he must have told people.
Maybe Uncle Bola told Akonde.
Yes, it was his deputy.
Okay, that's true. Maybe he did. But I was there. So and I remember asking Shade to remind me of how it happened. Yeah. And Shade's recollection of it was exactly mine. Yeah. So I compared notes with her and she said, no. It
was very graphic the way you
Is that right?
Very graphic.
Thank
and
you.
You quoted it. It was like an actor. It was one of the most dramatic moments in the book, especially in presence of the stage.
So I was, and I asked her what happened. I said, remind me of that scene. And she went through with me and said this. I said, when Uncle Bala came in, what happened? He said, Uncle Bala went straight to Mama. I said, yes. And Mama gave me a little hug. And then Papa held Uncle Bala's hand up the table like this and then shook his hand like that. And she did exactly what I said. I said, yes, I remember. That's what happened. And then at that point, Uncle Bala then flared up and then, we had the, but it was, I'm glad that I wrote the book, Sam, and I'm glad that the reaction to the book has been quite good. My teachers are calling me up and saying, oh, what they love the book. I got a lovely text from Professor Banjo, Ayo Banjo, was my teacher, who used the word excellent now. Professor Banjo doesn't use the word excellent, says excellent work, and the hardest of my teachers was Professor Shoyinka, who also loved the book. So I'm delighted I wrote the book. And who knows, I'm going to do a sequel to this book, not quite a sequel. I'm going to publish the interviews with world leaders as a volume, which will be entitled, the same chapter in this book, Encounters with History, Interviews with World Leaders.
That would be very good.
I need to do that. That would really go with whatever I've tried to do here. BJ, my friend, thinks that there will be a sequel to this book. Now, I don't know what BJ is, I don't know what he means by that. I'm only 75, so who knows? Maybe in around 10 years, I might be.
You're right, you have to write another one. You're a man of activity. So, and I also have to take credit. You didn't give me credit. 4 times I told you. Because anytime you had, I was with you in certain places outside town. You always said,
Sam,
there was always story. I said, well, write this book.
Yes. No, Sam, the paperback edition. Yes. There are some things I've left out. I'm going to do them. I know. Your wife said I should write the book, and I'm glad I did. For the reasons I stated at the beginning of this interview, So, but I hope that this things like this is small, but others can add to this and make it a much better kind of voyage.
This book, The Road Never Forgets, Memoirs by Yemi Ogunbiyi. It's a book I read with a lot of gusto, with a lot of interest, absorption. It's a story about history, about personal life. It's about culture. It's actually a story as apparition. That's various chapters and movements in this book. So I really recommend it to everybody. And I'm really happy that you had this time to talk about this book. And my pleasure to have had you on this show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's my honor to have been here. It's my pleasure for having me. Thank you so much. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Here is my poem in the series, The Politician.
What shall I do now, that in spite of my vow, I cannot sustain an hour of my honor? I fell to the net of my flatterers on the internet. Their praises are like bubbles, so their babble did not make the ballots.
Thank you for being on this show. You can join my column at www.samomatseye.com and on Twitter @SamOmatseye. And until next time, be good.